This is a Pele Media podcast.
Welcome to Goonies Minute, everybody. This is the show where we carefully dissect and analyze the 1985 classic Goonies minute by minute. I am your host, Brady, and you are?
Chris.
Well, what's going on today, man? You having a...
Oh, having a great day. It's another little gloomy day in Baton Rouge. Nice sit by the fire, stay warm with some hot chocolate and cocoa. That's what we usually do here in Baton Rouge.
Yeah, for about a week, maybe, throughout the year. Well, if you're ready, let's go ahead and get into the minute. In the previous minute, we opened in a prison with one of the prisoners who has just hanged himself. He has a note attached to his shirt. The prison guard removes the note to read it. At 1 minute, the prison guard reads the note, finding out that the suicide message was a trick. At 1 minute and 10 seconds, he looks up to see the hanged man, Jake Fratelli, alive and smiling. Jake knocks the prison guard unconscious and removes himself from his fake noose. At 1 minute and 25 seconds, we cut to the exterior of the prison where we see Jake's brother, Francis, dumping gasoline around the perimeter of the parking lot. At 1 minute and 30 seconds, we see the getaway driver and leader of the gang, Ma Fratelli. At 1 minute and 37 seconds, Ma yells impatiently for Francis to hurry up. Francis ditches the gas can and runs for the car. He cocks a semi-automatic handgun. At 1 minute and 45 seconds, Ma announces, "Here he comes," and starts the car. At 1 minute and 48 seconds, Jake makes his way out of the front doors of the prison and to the car. At 1 minute and 54 seconds, Jake grabs the door handle, but it won't open. At 1 minute and 59 seconds, while Jake and Francis bicker about why car door handles won't open, Ma yells for Jake to climb through the sunroof. And thus ends minute number 1 of the Goonies. So we've got a lot of cool stuff going on in this minute.
Yeah, it ended up the last minute zero where the guard sees Jake Fratelli hanging, and he walks up to him and he sees the little paper saying, "You really think that I would kill myself?"
Yeah.
I can't remember the exact words
schmuck.
on it. You schmuck. And then right then he smacks him, and it starts the Great Escape throughout the jail, which is pretty amazing how easy they were able to break this guy out of jail.
Yeah.
It's fascinating, actually. Even in 1985, the security at this jail has got to be the worst that I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah.
But then again, I don't think movies always have to be perfect when it comes to that.
Yeah.
That's not the significance. The significance is he was broken out of jail.
Right. And
it's not it's not an Ocean's 11 how to break into something. It's just, hey, we got to get him out of jail, and this is good enough.
Yeah. I mean, it's not Shawshank Redemption.
Right.
This is the Goonies, the kids movie. I mean, this movie doesn't hold back. You get like a couple of seconds worth of just kind of some chill, let's get into it, and then this movie just takes off, and it doesn't stop.
Right. I mean, you have a guy hanging. You have a prison guard that gets hit with a pipe.
Yeah.
And then you have him escape outside, and this is the first time you see the brother Francis, who is dousing gasoline in like a semicircle / rectangular, border around the jail.
Lot,
yeah. So when they escape, eventually, and that's not in this minute, that they can stop the guards from being able to catch him.
Yeah. You ever noticed in movies when someone gets knocked out, and it's so easy to knock somebody out?
Yeah, it's really easy.
You can pluck them on the forehead, and next thing you know, they're
it's the same. It's the same as in wrestling with the referee. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can have a 200-pound person barely hit a referee, and he's knocked out. It's the same thing in a movie.
Yeah.
And there's no shaking, there's no moving, there's no, and because it's PG in this movie, which is really interesting, they hit him and there's no blood.
Yeah, and his eyes are still open.
Yeah.
You see that in movies too. People get knocked out and their eyes, maybe that's how it works.
And also another thing that's fascinating is, growing up, I've always heard when you are deprived of air, that it takes, like 4 minutes.
Yeah.
To be able to die, or 5 minutes to be able to die, or for brain injury, or like to be knocked out. I mean, it's like a minute maybe. But yet these people, a lot of times when they're strangled, they die in like 15 seconds.
Welcome to Goonies Minute, everybody.
But I mean, it's true though. It's unbelievable. Well, you see. But anyway, you get back to it. You see the gas being spilled, And then you see Jake Fratelli coming out, and you would think that the cavalry would be shooting at this guy.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
they're not.
And they're not. Amateurs. I want to get into to the actor of Jake Fratelli here. His name's Robert Davi, and he's one of these guys that you've kind of seen everywhere, especially films back in the 80s and 90s. He was just one of like those guys. And I mean, this dude has had a really cool, very interesting career. And he's been everything from an actor to a director, producer, and a singer, primarily a jazz and opera singer. And we even get to hear a little bit of his
opera singer.
Of his voice here later on in the movie. But he's played a lot of different types of characters, primarily villains. He was actually a Bond villain in License to Kill a few years after Goonies. He was also in Die Hard. He was in CSI on TV.
I think everybody was in
Law and
CSI.
Order. I really think so. So many of the like little side characters.
Everybody, everywhere has been there, started there.
In Goonies Minute and even in Jurassic Park Minute, everybody's been in either CSI or like Law and Order. So, but yeah, aside from his acting career, he's had a very successful career as a singer, and I mean everything from jazz to opera, like I said. You talk about a ruthless villain. This guy, he really does so much through so little. I mean, he's just got presence.
Don't you think he looks a little bit like the Fonz?
Oh yeah,
from Happy.
Yeah.
And you wonder, I wonder if any of his success had something to do with that, with his look, because he definitely did have that look.
He's got a look to him, yeah.
But he does have a sinister look, and you could see how he could play the bad guy. But as we'll see later on, I think the best bad guys are the ones that can interject humor and something else. They can add something else other than just pure fear, and especially being in a kids movie. If you have somebody that's just pure evil all of the time, then I think that can turn some people off. But if you have a little bit of humanity to somebody, then it makes them I guess could be more likable.
And a little bit more of a wild card, unpredictable. Like whenever they're trying to get the answers out of Chunk about where the kids are, he starts like kind of smiling, like he's enjoying talking to Chunk, and he thinks he's funny and everything. And there's kind of that like smile that he gives him just makes it more unnerving because I don't know, do I like him? Do I fear him?
Whereas the brother, whereas Francis, he's pretty much bad all the way around.
Yeah.
The mom's pretty much bad all the way around. She's a terrible person.
Yeah.
But he's the one that he's got a little bit, but he could probably snap. Quicker than any of the other ones either. Also, he's got that Jekyll and Hyde personality.
Very cool villain. Speaking of which, I mean, what an interesting selection for your villain or your team of villains. Normally in a movie, you would probably just have one guy or two guys or a couple of guys. No, our primary antagonist here is an old woman.
Yeah, she is a ruthless
choice.
person. But if you're going to choose a woman to be a villain, what better than this? What a mean-looking, scowly-looking, horrible-looking woman.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't even imagine her. Like, I know she was in Throw Mama from the Train, but she grossed me out and disgusted me that too. I mean, she's just a vile human being.
Which she actually earned an Academy Award nomination for. But yeah, so her name is Anne Ramsey, and she didn't start acting in film until pretty late in her life, and she and her husband actually formed the Philadelphia's Theater for the Living Arts, and her husband, who was also an actor, was Logan Ramsey. So that's pretty cool. It's pretty.
Well, the thing is, and whenever I say such kind things about a person as she's disgusting, vile, but here's the thing, because she's such a good actress.
Yeah, that's right.
That's why I say those things, which to me would be the ultimate compliment, because if I really don't like you, that means you're really doing a good job.
Yeah, you've done your job as an actor. But we'll never know her like that. We'll always know her as Ma Fratelli, even after all these years of having watched the movie, because her performance is just that good.
Another thing that's interesting is you see with the brothers, they're evil, but the comedy of when Jake's trying to get in the car and Francis, it's locked and Francis is holding, one of them's holding up the handle, and you see them going back and forth. That's one of those. It reminds us that we had a guy hanging. We're breaking out of jail. We knocked out a police guard, but also that throws the humor in it.
Yeah,
it's a nice combination there.
It works. It works really well. And even at the end, whenever they're tied up together, they're slapping each other like, this is your fault. This is your fault.
And so yeah, it's a wonderful balance of humor in just the fact that they're just these two little brothers who are always griping and fighting with each other, and yet they're shooting at children.
Yeah, and they're also murderers.
They're murderers, and there's a really cool moment here in the next minute, I believe, where Francis shoots the gasoline so the cops can't get out, and he's like just laughing manically while the window's rolling up, and you see the flames and the reflection. A really cool moment. So let's get into to that character. Francis Fratelli is played by Joe Pantoliano, who is again one of those guys that he's a famous like character actor. You just see him.
See him everywhere.
Yeah, he's been in everything from Memento to The Matrix to The Fugitive to Risky Business, and he's just always disappears into the part. Really, really, really good actor. Very good actor. It's always cool to see him show up in movies.
What I think is interesting is that he might not be the leading man or might not even be second, but they're very good actors, and they're plenty happy with being in. We're in side roles, throughout a career.
Yeah, and occasionally you do. I don't know that you've ever seen Joe Pantoliano in a leading role. Nothing's really coming to mind. But you do get some of these, I want to call them character actors in lead roles sometimes. Like Gary Oldman is a prime example of someone who's more or less always going to be your leading man, and someone like this actor who just disappears into it. You can tell that these are guys who really care about the craft, and they care more about disappearing into characters as opposed to playing the same dude over and over again. Let's see, I think an actor who you just always see playing the same dude over and over again, a good example would be Jason Bateman. And I like Jason Bateman a lot, and he does that one part very well, but the guy's always playing the same part.
Well, another one is Matthew McConaughey. And he's a good actor, but it seems like it's always in the same romance type comedy.
Yeah, like Kate
It's
Hudson
the same
comedies.
thing. He's always got the same voice, to whereas you see, and maybe that's him recognizing who he is.
Mm-hmm.
That could be that too. And he's been very successful at it.
Yeah.
It's spurned his career into doing Lincoln commercials. So, but no, he's been very successful.
The pinnacle of success.
Yeah, no, but I mean, he's been very successful, but it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
Kate Hudson is always, it seems like, and she's very talented, but she's always in those same type, how to lose a guy in however many days,
I mean, McConaughey's like, I definitely see where you're coming from, but he does shake it up sometimes. Like, I mean, Dallas Buyers Club is amazing, and then there's some other examples in there, but I definitely know, like Kate Hudson.
But that's what I think of when I think of him.
Yeah, exactly. Well, definitely not the case with Joe Pantoliano here, Francis Fratelli. So I've got some cool information on the prison that they're breaking out of, which is the Clatsop County Jail, which was an actual prison and has since been turned into the Oregon Film Museum, which has a lot of Goonies memorabilia, including Data's costume, which is actually in the same cell that they break Jake out of. They even have, I believe it's a replica of the ORV out front with the bullet holes in the same spot. And you can go to this museum, and they have a really cool interactive feature, which allows guests to kind of create their own short films with, it's a certain exhibit, which utilizes small sets and green screens and everything. So it's really cool.
That's pretty cool. It's like, I wonder how, it looks so small in the film, and man, with all that stuff in there, you would think that it's got to be a larger size. But I'll tell you this, I'm glad that it's being used for that, because there's no way that it could actually be a prison.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it didn't do too good of a job of keeping Jake Fratelli in there.
Yeah. So back to the Fratelli family as a unit of villains. I think it's such an original and funny idea having your villains be a family. But yeah, Ma Fratelli, to get back to her, I'm having trouble at the moment thinking of a more ruthless villain who's just, mean through and through, even to the point that she's going to cut out a child's tongue with a switchblade or shove, some kid's hand out of a blender.
I would think that's accurate for what you think a PG theme. Because when you get to R, when you jump to R-rated, yeah, you can think of people that are, because you see more ruthless. But if you think of actually what this person is about to do and willing to do, and the only thing that stops it is the pure luck of what happens, with when the bats come flying out.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
stops them one time. So it's just pure luck.
It's pure luck, and it brings what would today be in just a hard R rated film back down to, I guess, a PG rating because
they don't actually do it.
Because they never get to it. But, I mean, some of the most messed up stuff she does is not only is she's willing to put Chunk's hand down the blender, but she starts off shoving tomatoes down, saying, like, check it out, kid. Like, this is what it's going to look like, what I'm about to do to you. That's really messed up. And then I think probably the most twisted thing that she does here is when she plays with Sloth's emotions at the end and starts singing Rockabye Baby to him to just try and manipulate this person, her baby, her child, and that I believe they allude to the fact that she dropped as a kid. But
she's completely ruthless. She's completely money hungry. That's the only thing she really cares about.
That's right. And
is the money and the treasure.
Yeah.
You know, that's it.
So what a great villain. I mean, they wrote a very effective villain and one of the most ruthless villains I can think of that I've ever seen in a movie.
So anyway, I think that's pretty much it for minute number 1.
Yeah, I guess, everybody, I hope you're enjoying the show so far. Tomorrow we're going to have minute number 2 of Goonies Minute, so be sure to check back in. But until then, I am Brady.
I'm Chris.
And we're here to remind you that Goonies never say die. Goonies Minute is a fan-supported podcast. If you like the show, then leave us a review on iTunes. You can find us at GooniesMinute.com, Facebook.com/GooniesMinute, Twitter.com/GooniesMinute, and at Instagram at GooniesMinute. You can contact us at GooniesMinute@gmail.com. You've been listening to a Pele Media podcast. For premium content and exclusive podcasts, visit us at Patreon.com/Pele Media. Check us out on Facebook at Facebook.com/Pele Media and follow us on Twitter at Twitter.com/Pele Media.